Close your eyes for just a moment. It is a Thursday night. JFK Airport, New York. You just survived a 16-hour flight. Your back is aching. Your eyes feel like sandpaper. All you want in this world is to get to your hotel room, lie down, and sleep for 12 hours straight. You are standing in the customs line. You have your passport in one hand and your phone in the other. Your visa is valid. Your documents are clean. You have done nothing wrong. You are just another tired traveler trying to get through the line. You step up to the CBP officer's booth. He asks the standard questions. Where are you coming from? How long are you planning to stay? What is the purpose of your visit? You answer everything calmly, honestly, clearly. And then he looks up from his screen, looks directly at you, and says 4 words. Unlock your phone, please. Your heart stops. Your entire life is on that phone. Every conversation with your wife. Every voice note your mother sent you. Your banking apps. That message you sent your brother 6 weeks ago. That photo from your cousin's wedding. That WhatsApp group with your old coworkers. You hesitate for maybe 2 seconds. Then fear takes over. You type your passcode, you hand it over, and in that exact moment, in those 3 seconds while you enter that passcode, you made a mistake. A mistake so quiet, so invisible, so completely innocent that you had absolutely no idea it just happened. But because of that mistake, that CBP officer now has a live window into not just what is on your phone, but potentially into years of your private digital life stored across servers on the other side of the world. 2 hours later, you are sitting alone in a cold detention room. Your visa has been canceled. There is a return flight being arranged for you, and you still do not fully understand what went wrong. That is not a scene from a movie. That is not a worst-case hypothetical. That is happening at U.S. airports right now, in 2026, to real people who had valid visas, clean records, and absolutely no idea they were walking into a trap. My name is Tariq, and today I am going to go deeper into this topic than almost anyone has gone before. I am going to walk you through the 5 mistakes that immigrants are making at U.S. airports right now that are destroying their visas, canceling their entry, and costing them everything they worked for. I am going to explain exactly what CBP is legally permitted to see and what they are legally prohibited from accessing. I am going to explain the critical, life-changing difference between how they treat a tourist visa holder versus a green card holder. And I am going to tell you about the 3-second mistake, what it is, why it is so dangerous, and the exact steps to avoid it. If you are flying to the United States anytime in the coming months, or if you have a family member, a friend, a colleague who is flying, do not skip a single minute of this video, because what you are about to learn cannot be learned at the airport. By then, it is already too late. Let us start from the very beginning. Most immigrants who fly into the United States carry with them a belief, a quiet, confident belief. They believe that the United States Constitution protects them. They have heard about rights. They have heard about the Fourth Amendment. They know that in America, police cannot just stop you on the street, snatch your phone, and read through your messages without a warrant signed by a judge. And they are absolutely right on the street. But the airport is not the street. This is the first and most foundational mistake. Believing that your constitutional rights follow you through the arrivals gate at JFK or LAX or O'Hare. They do not. Under United States federal law, there exists something called the border search exception. At any official port of entry into the United States, airports, seaports, land border crossings, the normal constitutional rules that protect Americans from unreasonable searches and seizures do not fully apply. The U.S. government has granted Customs and Border Protection an extraordinarily broad legal authority to search your physical belongings and your electronic devices without a warrant, without the approval of a judge, and without needing any proof whatsoever that you have done anything wrong. Let that sink in. They do not need to suspect you of a crime. They do not need evidence. They do not need a judge's signature. At the border, they can ask for your phone simply because they want to, and legally, for most travelers, they are within their rights to do so. Now, this does not mean you have zero protection. You do have rights at the border. But those rights are narrower, more specific, and far more complicated than most immigrants realize. And the mistake, the fatal mistake, is not knowing this before you land. Because here is what happens when someone does not know this. The officer asks for their phone. The person says, "You cannot look at my phone. I know my rights. You need a warrant." And in that moment, with that sentence, they have just made themselves the most interesting person in that entire terminal. The officer sees defensiveness. He sees someone who knows something. He escalates. Basic check becomes secondary inspection. Secondary inspection becomes a 2-hour interrogation. And what started as a routine border crossing becomes the worst day of that person's life. Arguing constitutional law with a CBP officer at the primary inspection booth is one of the fastest ways to destroy your own entry. You must understand the rules of the border before you ever set foot in that customs line. Not during, before. And those rules lead us directly to the most dangerous mistake of all. The 3-second mistake. Here is the scenario again. The officer asks you to unlock your phone and hand it to him. You press your passcode or use your Face ID, you hand it over. But what did you forget to do in those 3 seconds? You forgot to disconnect from the internet. Now I want you to understand exactly why this matters, because this is the part that most people, including most immigration lawyers on YouTube, never explain properly. There is an official U.S. government document called CBP Directive 33-4 or 049A. This is the actual internal policy that governs how CBP officers are supposed to handle your electronic devices during a border search. It is a real document. You can look it up. And buried inside this directive is a distinction that could literally save your digital life. CBP is only legally authorized to search data that is physically stored on the device itself. They are legally prohibited from intentionally accessing data that is stored remotely, in the cloud. So what does that actually mean for you in practical terms? It means your iCloud photo library, protected. Your Google Drive documents, protected. Your WhatsApp message backups stored on remote servers, protected under the policy. Your old emails stored only on a server somewhere, protected. But here is where the 3-second mistake destroys all of that protection. If your phone is connected to airport Wi-Fi or connected to a cellular network, when you hand it to the officer, your phone is live. It is breathing. It is pulling data in real time. The officer opens your email app. Your phone fetches emails from 5 years ago that were never stored locally. He opens your WhatsApp. Your phone starts syncing conversations from a backup that was never on the device. He opens your photo app. Your iCloud library starts loading images you took in another country 2 years ago. None of that data was on your phone. All of it is now visible on the screen. The CBP directive itself actually states that officers should request travelers to disable connectivity before a device search begins. They are supposed to ask you to put the phone in airplane mode. But what happens when they forget? What happens when a new officer does not know the policy? What happens when they simply do not ask? If you handed over a connected phone, Noshena, you have just handed them a live portal into your entire digital existence, spanning servers across multiple countries and multiple years of your life. So here is the exact thing you do. Every single time, without exception, no matter what. If a CBP officer asks for your unlocked phone, before you hand it over, swipe down from the top of your screen, enable airplane mode, confirm that Wi-Fi is off, confirm that Bluetooth is off, confirm that cellular data is off. Then and only then do you hand the phone over. 3 seconds. That's all it takes. If the officer asks why you did that, you look at them calmly and you say, "Officer, I am fully cooperating with your request. I am restricting this search to locally stored device data in accordance with CBP Directive 33-40-049A. You are not refusing the search. You are not causing a problem. You are legally and precisely limiting the search to exactly what the law permits them to access. And you said it calmly, respectfully, and with the name of the actual government document behind you. That is how you protect years of your private life in 3 seconds. Now let us talk about something that almost everyone gets completely wrong. WhatsApp. I hear the same thing over and over. I have nothing to hide. I am not a criminal. I am not carrying drugs or weapons. Why would I care if they read my WhatsApp? And then the second part. Besides, WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted. The government cannot read my messages anyway. Let me give you the complete truth on both of these points because both of them contain a dangerous misunderstanding. First, the encryption question. Yes, WhatsApp uses end-to-end encryption. Yes, your messages are encrypted while they are traveling through the internet from your phone to another person's phone. While they are in transit, no intelligence agency, no government, no hacker can intercept and read them. That is real. That is true. But the moment you unlock your phone and place it in another human being's hands, encryption means absolutely nothing. They are not intercepting your messages in transit. They are looking at your screen, the same screen you look at every single day. The messages are right there in plain text, readable by any set of human eyes. End-to-end encryption protects your messages from hackers on the internet. It does not protect your messages from a CBP officer holding your unlocked phone in his hands. Second, the nothing to hide argument. This is where people make a mistake that costs them everything. Because CBP is not primarily looking for criminals at the border. They are looking for something far more common, far more subtle, and far more dangerous for regular immigrants. They are looking for evidence of intent. Specifically, intent to violate your immigration status. Let me give you a real example of how this works. A young man arrives at a U.S. airport on a B-1, B-2 tourist visa. He tells the officer he is here for 2 weeks to visit some friends and see New York. Clean story. Simple story. The officer searches his phone. They find a WhatsApp conversation with his cousin living in New Jersey. The message was sent 5 weeks earlier. It says, "Cousin, I am coming next month. Do you know anyone who might need an extra hand at their business? Even just for a few weeks to make some money while I am there, that is it. One message. 4 sentences. Maybe it was serious. Maybe it was a passing thought. Maybe it was said half-jokingly. It does not matter. Under the Immigration and Nationality Act, that single WhatsApp message constitutes documentary evidence of immigrant intent. It demonstrates that this person entered on a tourist visa while intending to engage in unauthorized work. His visa is canceled on the spot. He receives an expedited removal order, and he is barred from entering the United States for 5 years. 5 years. Because of one message. And it is not just work-related messages they are looking for. Did you ever text your partner saying you cannot wait to finally be together in America permanently? Even if you only have a tourist visa, that message suggests immigrant intent. Did you photograph storefronts in the city where your relative lives looking at them as potential business opportunities? Those photos tell a story. Did you save a job listing on your phone, even just out of curiosity? That is a data point. CBP officers are trained specifically to look for inconsistencies between the story you tell them at the booth and the story your phone tells them on its own. If those two stories do not match, even slightly, your entry is in serious trouble. Your phone is the most detailed, most honest, most comprehensive record of your true intentions that has ever existed. It knows things about you that you have forgotten. It stores conversations from years ago that you never thought anyone would read. It contains the unfiltered, unguarded version of your private thoughts. Treat it accordingly before you ever get on a plane to the United States. Now, we get to the part of this video that I want you to pay the closest attention to, because this is where the real panic happens at the airport. And it is where knowing the difference between 2 types of immigration documents can mean the difference between going home that night and being put on a return flight. The officer looks at you across the counter and asks, "What is your phone passcode?" Can you say no? Can you legally refuse to hand over your password? The answer is yes. Technically, legally, you can refuse. But whether that refusal destroys you or protects you depends entirely on one thing. What document are you traveling on right now? Let us start with temporary visa holders. Tourist visas. Student visas. Work visas like H-1B or L-1. Any non-immigrant visa that allows you to enter the United States for a specific, limited purpose. If you are traveling on any of these visas, you have the lowest level of rights at the U.S. border. The legal framework for temporary visa holders is built around a simple principle. You are requesting permission to enter the United States. You are a guest, and the burden is on you to demonstrate that you are admissible. If you refuse to unlock your phone, the officer does not need to fight you about it. He does not need a court order. He does not need to prove anything. He can simply say, "I am unable to verify your admissibility. Entry denied. Visa canceled." Please follow this officer to the removal area. For temporary visa holders, refusing to unlock your phone is almost always a catastrophic mistake. It is a mistake that ends your trip before it begins and can leave a permanent mark on your immigration record. Now, let us talk about the completely different situation for lawful permanent residents. Green card holders. If you hold a green card, if you are a lawful permanent resident of the United States, the legal situation is fundamentally different, and you need to understand this distinction deeply. A returning lawful permanent resident cannot be denied entry to the United States solely because they refuse to provide their phone password. That is not a legal basis for taking away your permanent resident status. You have established ties to this country. You have legal rights that a tourist visa holder simply does not have. Let me say that one more time so it is absolutely clear. A CBP officer cannot confiscate your green card and turn you away simply because you decline to unlock your iPhone. That right exists for you as a permanent resident. However, and this is a significant however, they can make the situation extremely difficult and extremely inconvenient. If a green card holder refuses to unlock their device, CBP has the authority to seize the phone. They will give you a written receipt for it. They will allow you to enter the country. And they will send your phone to a forensic laboratory where specialists will work to break through your encryption, potentially for weeks or even months. When they finally crack it, and modern forensic tools from companies like Cellebrite make this increasingly likely, they will extract a complete copy of everything on that device. Every message, every photo, every deleted file they can recover, every app you ever used. So the dilemma for green card holders is real and it is uncomfortable. Do you unlock the phone, cooperate, maintain possession of your device but surrender your privacy? Or do you exercise your legal right to refuse, protect your privacy in the moment, keep your immigration status but lose your phone for an unknown period of time? There is no single perfect answer that works for every person in every situation. But there is one answer that is always dangerous: not knowing this distinction before you are standing at that counter. You need to make this decision before your flight, not in the moment, not under pressure, not while an officer is staring at you and your heart is pounding. Know your status. Know your rights under that status. Make your decision in advance. Now, let us talk about something that many immigrants do not even know exists, and that they unknowingly trigger through completely innocent behavior. Under CBP policy, there are two entirely different categories of phone search. The first is a basic search. The officer picks up your phone. He scrolls through it manually with his fingers. He looks at your recent apps, your photo gallery, maybe your messages. He is doing this visually, by hand. This type of search can be conducted randomly, without any specific reason or suspicion. The second is an advanced search. And this is where things become an entirely different level of serious. In an advanced search, your phone is taken into a separate room. An officer plugs it into a specialized piece of forensic technology, tools like the Cellebrite UFED system, or similar devices used by law enforcement agencies worldwide. These machines do not just look at your phone, they download your entire device, like every file, every database, every fragment of data that exists on the hardware. And these tools are specifically built to recover things you thought were gone. Deleted WhatsApp messages. Recovered. Photos you erased months ago. Recovered. Emails you removed from your inbox. Recovered. Your complete GPS location history. Extracted. Every app you ever opened and when you opened it. Logged. Every website you ever visited. Documented. This is not science fiction. This is standard technology that is actively deployed at U.S. airports right now. Here is the critical protection that stands between you and an advanced search. CBP cannot conduct an advanced search randomly. Under their own published policy, they are required to have reasonable suspicion of a specific violation of law or a national security concern before they are permitted to plug your device into one of these forensic machines. So the question that should matter to you is this: what behaviors give them reasonable suspicion? And this is where so many immigrants hand it to them completely unintentionally. Excessive visible nervousness, sweating heavily, trembling hands, struggling to make eye contact, voice that breaks when answering simple questions. Officers are trained to read these physical signals. Normal nervousness is expected and understood, but nervousness that looks like fear of being caught, that is a red flag. Changing your story. You say you were staying 2 weeks, then you say maybe 3, then you say it depends. Inconsistency in basic facts triggers immediate suspicion. Physical inconsistency between your stated purpose and your belongings. You tell the officer you are here for a 2-week vacation. He looks at your checked luggage and sees bags packed for a 6-month stay. The story and the evidence do not match. And the single biggest red flag of all: arriving with a brand new, completely empty phone. This happens more than you would think. Someone hears that CBP searches phones, so the day before their flight, they back up their old phone, factory reset it, and arrive with a device that has almost nothing on it. Maybe a few apps, almost no photos, almost no messages. To a CBP officer, this is one of the most suspicious things they can see. A normal person's phone is full of life. Years of photos, hundreds of contacts, thousands of messages, apps layered on top of apps. A completely clean phone screams one thing: this person deliberately erased something before crossing the border. That suspicion, even without any other evidence, is enough under CBP policy to legally justify escalating to an advanced forensic search. So, what do you do instead? Keep your phone looking like a normal, lived-in phone. Clean up specific problematic content, which we are going to talk about in a moment. But do not wipe your entire digital life the night before your flight, because that erasure itself becomes the evidence against you. Now let me bring everything together. Here is your complete digital protection plan for flying into the United States in 2026. These are not general suggestions. These are specific, actionable steps based directly on CBP's own policy documents. Follow all of them. Step 1. And do this days before you travel, not the night before. Go through your phone carefully. If you are traveling on a temporary visa, read through your recent messages across every app. WhatsApp, iMessage, Telegram, email, everything. Ask yourself honestly, does any of this suggest that I plan to work in the US without authorization? Does any of this suggest I plan to stay permanently when my visa is temporary? Does any of this contradict the story I will tell at the border? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, delete it. Delete it days before your flight, not hours before. Because forensic tools can often recover recently deleted files. Give the deletion time to become permanent. And when you are reviewing your photos, look at them the way a suspicious officer would look at them, not the way you look at them. That photo of you standing in front of an apartment building might mean nothing to you. To an officer looking for evidence that you intend to live in the US, it might mean something very different. Step 2. Before you land, log out of your social media applications, log out of Facebook, log out of Instagram, log out of LinkedIn, log out of Twitter. When you are logged out, these apps require a password to access. During a basic manual search, if an officer picks up your phone and sees a login screen instead of a feed full of content, that adds friction. It slows the search. It reduces what is immediately visible without you doing anything that could be interpreted as obstruction. Step 3, the 3-second rule. Memorize this. Practice it until it is automatic. If a CBP officer asks you to unlock your phone and hand it to them, before you hand it over, swipe down from the top of the screen, enable airplane mode. Verify that Wi-Fi is off, verify that cellular data is off, verify that Bluetooth is off. Then unlock the screen. Then hand it over. 3 seconds. If the officer asks why you did that, your response is calm and respectful. Officer, I am complying fully with your request. I am limiting this search to locally stored data in accordance with CBP Directive 334.049A. I am happy to cooperate with the search. You are not refusing. You are not being difficult. You are exercising a legally grounded restriction that CBP's own policy supports. Say it with confidence, not with apology. Step 4. Know your immigration status and decide your position before you ever get in line. If you are a temporary visa holder, your position should generally be to comply with airplane mode active because refusal almost certainly means denied entry. If you are a green card holder, you have the right to decline providing your password. Your device may be seized. Your status is protected. Decide in advance whether you are willing to exercise that right and accept the consequence of a potentially lengthy device seizure. Make that decision at home, not at the counter. Step 5. Manage your composure because your composure is your first line of defense. Breathe before you step up to the booth. Answer questions directly. Do not add information that was not asked for. Do not explain yourself more than necessary. If the officer asks why you are visiting for 2 weeks, the answer is, I am here to visit friends and see the city. That is the complete answer. Not a story. Not a history. Not an explanation of everything you have ever done in your life. The officer is trained to find inconsistencies. Your job is to give him no inconsistencies to find. Short answers, direct answers, calm delivery. Calm. And if you are ever directed to secondary inspection, do not panic. Secondary inspection is not automatic deportation. It is an additional level of questioning. Stay calm. Continue giving direct, consistent answers. Ask if you can contact an attorney if the situation becomes serious. And do not sign any document that you have not read and fully understood, no matter how much pressure you feel. Let me say one final thing before I close. The United States of America is one of the most powerful countries on earth. The people sitting behind those CBP booths are trained professionals with access to extraordinary technology and extraordinary legal authority. They are doing their jobs. They are not your enemies. But they are also not your advocates. At that border, you are responsible for protecting yourself. And you cannot protect yourself with knowledge you do not have. I made this video because I watch families get separated over situations that were completely avoidable. I watch people lose visas, lose years of work, lose opportunities they spent their entire lives building, because nobody told them these 5 things before they got on a plane. You now know what the 3-second mistake is and how to prevent it in exactly 3 seconds. You now know the difference between what CBP can legally access and what they cannot. You now know how your WhatsApp messages can be used as evidence against you, even when you have done nothing criminal. You now know the fundamental difference between how temporary visa holders and green card holders are treated at the border. And you now know exactly what triggers an advanced forensic search, and how to make sure your behavior never gives them a reason to escalate. This is not information to keep to yourself. Share this video right now. Send it to your family group. Send it to your friends who are planning to fly. Post it in your community, because somewhere in your contacts right now, there is a person who is flying to the United States next week who does not know any of this. And this video might be the most important thing they see before they leave. Subscribe to this channel. I cover immigration law, border policy, and your rights as an immigrant in the United States every week. Every time a rule changes, every time a new policy takes effect, every time there is something you need to know, I will be here to explain it in plain language that actually makes sense. Leave a comment below. Tell me your experience. Have you ever had your phone searched at a U.S. airport? Did you know about the airplane mode rule before today? I read every single comment, and your questions directly shape the videos I make next. Your privacy matters. Your rights matter. Your future in this country matters. Now, you are prepared to protect all 3. Stay informed. Stay protected. I will see you in the next one.